Hey, this is Shalom Damabel. I am a body language expert. I help people who have jobs in a corporate to better understand human behavior for success.
You're watching Success, Motivation, and Inspiration, where we share interviews with incredible leaders who are crushing it in life and business.
Hey, welcome back. Today's guest is Shalom Damabel, body language expert and human behavior strategist. Welcome to the show. It's so good to have you on today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
What sparked your passion for decoding human body language?
Well, I think at a certain point, everyone kind of has that thing that they can obsess over and this kind of clicks their interest. For me, it was kind of reading the works of Joan Navarro, Vanessa Van Edwards. And once I kind of came across that side of psychology, it kind of clicked my interest where I can learn about it myself and also begin to help other people decode human behavior.
Awesome, man. And then what is the biggest myth that people believe about body language right now?
So there's actually two of them. So one of them, there's been like people going around about decoding deception and how to tell if someone being deceptive towards you. So lots of people believe that if someone looks away when talking to you, if they kind of cross their arms when talking to you, and things like that. The truth is, there is no single behavior that can help you tell when someone's lying. The second one is kind of the crossing of the arms like this. People believe that if someone does this, it automatically means that they're defensive, they're kind of closing you off, and that is not true. This kind of just like a self-hug essentially. And people just may do this when they're trying to comfort themselves, and it's nothing more than pacifying behavior. So, number one, there is no single behavior that means someone is being deceptive, and then crossing of the arms. It is not a way to push people, except it just be a pacifier.
And yeah, I mean, I've heard that as well about the crossing the arms, or if somebody's looking up and to the left, I think it was that's trying to access a memory or whatever. But access a memory or whatever it is, come up with the story. But the crossing the arm thing, you see people a lot. That my mom, for example, is always freezing. So you talk to her, she's the most friendly, just absolutely loves people, loves connecting, loves talking to people. But she'll be sitting there a lot of times like this because she is freezing when the rest of us are warm. So it would be funny if somebody thought that, I'd heard that rumor that somebody's lying if their arms are crossed, because my mom is probably the most honest person you ever met and would always be giving the sign of lying with the crossed arms.
That's one of the biggest myths out there about body language.
How does being able to read body language help someone to become more successful?
So when you're able to read and decode other people, you kind of better you get better insights as to why they're feeling what they're feeling and the behaviors that recognize in other people. And also you can understand body language in yourself as well. You kind of present yourself in a way to garner more respect, things like that. So kind of the golden rule is to maximize the distance between the earlobe as well as the shoulder to kind of give you power posture and power pose to exude confidence, because you have to look like a leader to be treated like one. And there are many examples of people who were intelligent, competent, smart, but because they cannot play the part of exuding good body language, it was hard for them to get people to stand behind them and get behind their ideas.
That's powerful. I get to speak at events all over the country, and it's funny seeing speakers, especially a new speaker that comes out. They've got a good message, sharing a good story, but they come out and hey guys, it's good to see you here today. I mean, they could be saying the exact same thing, but when they're looking small, not taking up a lot of space, it's funny how the audience automatically sets back, crosses their arms. They're writing notes or grabbing a snack or getting up, walking out to the bathroom. Versus that same speaker, a couple of years later, they come back, they've practiced, they've shown, value over and over and over to audiences. And as they're becoming more successful as a speaker, they may be sharing the exact same message, but they come out, hey guys, welcome to the event. Good to see you here. And they're taking up space with gestures. And even somebody you see, if you go into a restaurant or you're watching, maybe you're sitting at a nightclub or something, and you're watching the person sitting there just kind of small versus the guy kicked back, taking up some space. Just when you take up space, you automatically look more important. Is that something that you teach as well?
Yeah, so a way to tell if someone's feeling confident, if you're taking up space, especially like when the armpits are exposed, it kind of tends to exude confidence. So whether you're like hooting where you kind of have the arm behind your back like that, exposing the armpits and the torso area. Like, for example, if I was kind of talking with kind of small like this, weak voice, as opposed to me kind of relaxing, putting my shoulders back, I'm gonna be more respected in my voice and things like that. So the last thing you ever want to do is kind of make yourself small when you try to send a message. So the breakdown goes something like this, where 55% of human communication is body language. That's the way you present yourself, because people make impressions very quickly about you. It takes around 7 seconds. 38% is the way you say things. So two people can have to say the exact same words, but they say them differently. And so they'll be perceived differently. And then the last 7% is what you're actually saying. So I guess people may have too much time practicing like the words they want to say, and they kind of undervalue the idea of body language, passion in your voice, and tone of voice.
Now, for somebody watching this right now, if they're watching this on Amazon Fire TV, or maybe even reading your article in Newswire magazine, what are some tips that you can give? For example, taking up more space, chest out, now looking like you feel like you deserve to be in the position you're in. What are some other tips that entrepreneurs can use right now to build instant trust and confidence in their audience or in their potential buyers?
And so for entrepreneurs in particular, it is so important to use hand gestures while you're speaking. People can trust you a little bit more when they actually see your hands. So like the use of hand gestures to enhance your message can increase your persuasion by 30%. So this is something that the science of people, the organization, kind of looked into this. And it was they tracked the most successful TED Talks as well as the most successful Shark Tank pitches. And both of those, the people who were more viral, more successful, the people who used more hand gestures in their pitch. And so people can trust you more, they can see your hands. So I think that would be step one, just making sure when you're talking, trying to get people to stand behind you, use your hand gestures, take up your space. Don't kind of undervalue yourself by sitting small. I think that is the biggest tip that someone in business and entrepreneurship can do to enhance their value and enhance their message.
Now, if you've been to many events, if you're watching this, we've all seen speakers that get up there and have heard somebody coach them on, you need to use hand gestures, and they're getting up just making random, erratic, yeah, welcome to the thing today here, and they don't know where to put their hands, but they're moving their hands, trying to captivate attention. What intentional steps can you give somebody to make meaningful hand gestures that actually captivate the audience instead of flailing around and looking
Definitely don't want floppy
like maybe you need some meds?
Like you have to
What's that?
has to match your words. So like you don't like floppy arms where you're just kind of floating up and down, saying random stuff. So it has to like enhance your message in some way. So let's say if I was saying something like, I have a very big idea. I would want to do, I have a very big idea, like this a little. So it has to match your words. And your hands are more believable than your words, right? So if I was to say something like, I have 4 siblings, I hold up the number 5, you're going to be more likely to actually believe my hands over what I'm actually saying. So you have to make sure that they're going along with what you're saying, right? And it has to match your words for order for it to work.
That's powerful. And that example that you just gave, I was watching that. I'm running 8 different screens here. And I was looking down as you do that, saying, I have 4 siblings. And I automatically was looking at your hand gesture thinking, what did you do with the other sibling? What happened? And why are you hiding the fact that you've actually got 5? I love that example. What are some common mistakes that leaders make in high stakes conversations relating to body motion or hand gestures or motions?
One of the biggest mistakes that you can make is just like jerky movements where you kind of like, just kind of jerky. It's not very relaxed, not very confident. So I remember this was the election in 1960 where it was Kennedy versus Nixon. And it was kind of a weird time back then because, some people had like TVs, other people just had radios. And so it was funny because majority of the people who actually watched the debate live with their own eyes, they all thought that Kennedy had won the debate. Whereas the people who listened to it on the radio, they all thought that Nixon had won the debate. The reason for that is because the differences in their body language made a huge impact on the way that it was perceived by people watching with their own 2 eyes. So what happened was Kennedy, Kind of sat there, calmly rested. His feet were firmly planted on the floor, hands in his lap calmly. As opposed to Nixon, who's kind of there, who had like runner's feet, which is when your feet are kind of like one back on the other. He kind of like self-soothing with the thighs, like being like back and forth together. He kind of had like the jerky movements with his head, where he's kind of looking everywhere, looking at Nixon, looking at the cameras, this way, that way. And so make sure your movements are slow, they're calm, they're relaxed, so as well as your voice. You don't want to have people thinking that you're nervous, that you don't have confidence in what you're saying, because you have to believe in your ideas before anyone else will.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've seen that before, even watching interviews where, if you're watching an interview and the volume is turned down real low, you're seeing the person that is talking there. And if they're making twitchy or erratic motions, I had one recently we didn't actually end up posting, where the guest was, the words that they were saying were great. We transcribed everything, looked awesome. It would have made a great magazine article. But the interview, because they were so hopped up, twitchy, just kind of erratic movements and stuff, the words did not match the message that was actually supposed to be shared. And so we didn't end up actually publishing any of it because it was the motions looked so awkward that
Exactly.
it made both of us look goofy on TV. So how can someone show confidence in a sales pitch or sales meeting?
So if you want to show confidence and competence, you have to send out the right signals. So first starts with the body language. Kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. So competent and have a posture. You have to maximize the distance between the earlobe and the shoulder. Obviously, you don't want to overdo this and look like you're kind of hitting yourself. Other one, you want to kind of puff your chest out a little bit more. Chin just slightly elevated, because when the chin is elevated and held up high, it signals more confidence. And if you're kind of putting it low for facing towards the ground and things like that. And then also the use of hand, especially in a sales pitch. In sales pitch, you definitely have to be careful with your hand gestures and use them wisely to order to get the other person convinced on your ideas. So, power posture with the earlobes and the shoulders, popped out chest. You want to use hand gestures wisely, and you also kind of want to look at it. How depends like kind of meeting it is, whether it's one on one. You start talking to like a group of people, but if it is like a group of people, you want to kind of address everyone equally. It makes you talking to everyone in the room, and makes sure that all of them are taking your ideas well. And so if you can just do those 4 things, I can easily enhance your message and what you're sending out.
Powerful. Can you give us some tips on body language or signals that we should look for when negotiating?
Yes. So you want to look for signals of judgment, because if you can spot them in that moment and adjust them, you don't have to worry about whether or not your message was received the way you want it to be. So signals of like scrutinizing, whether like it's like the between the eyebrows, so kind of narrows them like this. Because like when you don't like something that you hear, kind of like squint the eyes a little bit. So it could be something like this with the eyebrows and the eyes. It's like judgment scrutinizing. So if you see that, you want to note it. Now I have to like circle back to the person who you know that knows the behavior and kind of address any concerns that they might have. I just want to look for what we call eye blocking behavior. Typically, when someone hears something that they do not like, they might go something like this. The eyes, kind of playing with the eyes, blocking out what you're saying. So I think those 2 you really want to be aware of. It can also be something as simple as like leaning back. So if someone's kind of like engaged with you, they're gonna like lean forward a little bit. Whereas if you just say something that they do not like, suddenly they just kind of move backwards in their chair, maybe arms crossed suddenly. Then those things are things you want to be aware of, because you want to adjust them when they happen, so that you can sure your message is received the way you want it to.
Now, do you recommend mirroring and matching? I know that's a powerful thing in sales, where when somebody leans back and is looking disinterested, where you basically match that, kind of sit back and change your tone and your cues. And then when they're excited, they're looking forward, looking at you, looking like they're ready to buy, you get in there and match their appearance and tone.
I recommend that more in like social settings, but like if someone was to like lean back, and then like a pitch or a sale, I have to kind of take note of that, because you want them to be more engaged. And you're engaged and interested, you're kind of leaning forward, because we tend to move toward things we like, and away from things that we don't like. So in a social setting, it can be very important to mirror the other person, match their vibe. But in a sales pitch, that can kind of have a different meaning. So you hopefully intent be to have them engage in what you're saying, rather than like leaning back with a chair, showing disinterest.
This interview is sponsored by Newswire magazine. We celebrate the entrepreneurs and thought leaders shaping the future, those who don't just adapt, but innovate, who inspire others to think bigger, lead boldly, and create lasting change. Only a select few are featured in Newswire magazine, and for those who earn a place on the cover, the opportunities are unmatched. Your story shared with a global audience, your achievements celebrated on national billboards, reaching millions. Every leader has a story. Every vision deserves a platform. Who will rise to the top? Stay tuned. You're witnessing greatness unfold.
Hey, welcome back to Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. Shalom, I'm so glad to have you on the show
Thank you.
today. Now, here's a question for you that is not in line with what we're talking about as far as business goes, but everybody, if you're not married or in a serious relationship, is probably looking for these type of tips as well. What nonverbal signals reveal true interest on a first date?
So these signals, I guess it kind of can depend on whether like they're gender wise. So for example, if I was on a first date, for example, something that women do to seduce, it could be like a biting of the lip, which in like a dating scene is different than like if you're out in public, because in other settings it could be interpreted as like nervousness. Like someone will kind of use the lip bite to kind of seduce someone that they're actually interested in. Also, something like twirling of the hair with the wrist open and exposed. So someone might do this as like a signal, like playing with their hair with the wrist open as a signal that they may be into you, as opposed to if it was like closed-handed, playing with their hair. So those are some signals non-verbally that if you might want to look out for. Also, a tilt of the head like this, you kind of exposing the neck as a signal of you are attentive and intrigued in what the other person is saying, and you're engaged. And so those things like that, if you see, let's say you're on a date, you see things like that, those can be positive signals that the other person is kind of feeling you, they kind of engaged in you, and they may want to continue things further.
That makes a lot of sense. And it reminds me of, I don't know if you've got pets, but if you've got a dog and when you say something, hey, buddy, you want to go to the park? The dog looks at you like, I think you just said park, but show a true interest. And that's, I mean, a dog knows nothing about body language. It's just showing you its genuine interest in what you're saying. So that's kind of a cool tip there. How can we spot fake interest or disengagement in a conversation?
So disengagement, it would kind of goes back to people coming towards things that they like, as opposed to leaning away, things that they don't like, especially with the hands. Like if someone's kind of touching you, like you also want to touch things like on a day of social setting. You like touch people like who you like. If it was someone that you don't like, you may withdraw the hands closer to yourself. Hands might be closer to the body and the torso, more stiff movements, I would say. And also kind of want to watch the feet. And so Donavar in his book, what everybody is saying, you know that the feet are the most honest part of the body, because they do not undergo as much conditioning as the face, right? So even when you're young, you're kind of taught to deceive with the face, to like maintain social harmony and stuff like that. So let's say that someone, you like having a conversation, and then you want both feet to be directed towards you, as opposed to if it was like one feet towards you, the other feet like towards the door or towards the exit or something else. As a sign of disengagement, it can be a sign that the person wants to leave or be elsewhere. So watch the feet and where they're pointed at.
Now, what's one body language trick to deepen personal connection fast?
So if you do a slow triple nod, the other person talks 3 to 4 times longer. So that may be something like this, where you kind of tilt the head. It's like an affirmation, and it's like a way of saying, yes, I'm interested, I'm engaged. And when you do that, the person feels almost obligated to keep talking because they know that you are engaged and you're listening. It goes back to kind of exposing the neck towards them. And that's one of the most powerful tools that you can use. Because when it comes to listening, if you can just start by being a good listener, the connection and the engagement that you can build with other people. Because being a good listener, I'd say, is kind of easier than being a good speaker, communicator verbally or non-verbally. And so just kind of tilt the head, slow triple nod. I can kind of show people that you are interested and engage with them.
I am loving this information you're giving, and I'm actually, I don't know if you see this, if you're reading this in Newswire magazine, you're gonna be able to read some of the tips that he's sharing and really get some value out of the article. But if you're watching this on Amazon Fire TV, you'll see that I'm actually trying to apply some of these things that Shalom is teaching right now. Shalom, are you available for coaching or consulting? For example, I do hundreds of these. I mean, this is what I do all the time, is these interviews, just connecting with leaders and stuff. Are you available for coaching or consulting, maybe for somebody watching this right now that's trying to do better in their business?
Yeah, so I do offer a one-on-one on the phone call, 30 minutes. You could find that. And my Gumroad account. Also, we'll be setting up a website very soon here. So if you are interested and intrigued in learning how you can use body language to your advantage, be comfortable connecting with other people, reading others and their emotions, you can book a call with me, ask any question you want, and I will answer it for you and help you kind of advance with whether it's connection or in the workplace.
Now, for those of us who aren't familiar, I actually published a book on nonverbal communication. You may know, if you've seen this or watched many of these episodes, I survived a malignant glioblastoma brain tumor and lost the ability to communicate. Literally could not talk, couldn't write. I had no ability to even communicate. But over the years, publishing and trying to study and really work on, for example, one thing I did was, with the brain tumor I was having 7 to 10 seizures a week for a long time before I finally ended up in a coma. But I noticed I had people constantly mentioning that I had this rapid eye movement blinking thing, and that started before the seizure. I mean, that started before the, just a symptom of brain cancer. But I had a real hard time with people trusting me because they had no clue that I'd gone through brain cancer. And I'm not going to start every conversation saying, hey, listen, I'm a brain cancer survivor. I should not even be around right now. But then as I'm telling that, if I'm doing this rapid eye blinking, as I'm telling them, you can trust me, I just have this problem where I blink too much because of the brain cancer. How do you even trust if that was what was, if that was the reason I was blinking, or if I just had a reason for doing that? But what do micro expressions reveal that words can't?
Micro expressions can be very hard to catch, but if you are capable of catching them, you may see some like contempt, things like that. So like a sneer, for example, like those quick smirk, especially in like married couples. Oftentimes when you see this, if a couple is having issues or problems, you may see like a husband do that to the wife or the other way around. And those very small, very quick movements and facial expression can often be a sign that like a divorce is on the way. Like a sneer, whether it's a micro expression, it's like, let's say you like walk into like a room and usually someone like happy to see you. You may see like a very subtle, quick raising of the eyebrows. It lasts for like 0.5 seconds. But if you can make yourself aware of those very quick micro expressions, you kind of understand what someone is better feeling inside. Those are things that oftentimes they won't tell you verbally, because verbally we often deceive, we lie, we manipulate, but the body does not lie. Like body language, it always reflects what someone is feeling or thinking on the inside. And so getting familiar with micro expressions can honestly be a great start to learning how to read others.
That's something you'll see even in negotiation a lot of times. Like if you're buying a used car from somebody at a private party, and the husband and wife are both there, and maybe the husband is really he's focused on, being a great liar. And now he starts saying, oh, this car is just a great car. We've just driven it to church back and forth. It's never sped, change the oil all the time. And the wife you see her little micro expressions going, are you kidding? You actually drifted this car. This was a race car, but you can see that from the other person sometimes. What is baseline behavior, and why does it matter?
So baseline behavior is kind of behaviors that people do on a day-to-day basis. So whether they're upset, happy, you may see them do it regardless. And so it's easy to get baseline behavior on someone and you're already like familiar with them. It's like if you have a best friend, brother, wife, partner, it's kind of easier to observe them and get a baseline because you're always around them. And so for people who you are already familiar with, you want to know and take like a mental note of when they drift away from that baseline. Because let's say if you're like communicating with someone, and you may see like an increase in pacifying behaviors. Maybe it's like a little lip licking, a lip purse, touching of the earlobe, like massaging of the bicep area. Once you see that increase in pacifiers and self-soothing, you kind of take a mental note of that and kind of think like maybe this person right now needs more comfort, needs more pep talk, something like that. So baseline behaviors is essentially just behaviors like someone's nonverbal baseline, you could say.
Now, we talked a little bit about the rapid eye blinking and twitching and stuff because of being a brain cancer survivor. How can someone stop nervous habits that hurt their image?
So that's actually this really great TED Talk by Amy Cuddy that was done years ago. And her tip was about power posing. It could be like a hands on hips.
About what?
Power posing. It's like a 2-minute exercise where it could be like puffing out the chest, like I said, a superhero. This dominant posture. And it was a study done by, I think it was either Harvard or Stanford, where if you power pose for 2 minutes, it will decrease cortisol, increase your testosterone, and increase risk taking. And all it takes is 2 minutes every time. So that's like the fastest tip to kind of increase your confidence in yourself. Like if you don't have a lot of time, if you're kind of heading to like a job interview, social event, it's like a quick 2-minute power posture where you're kind of standing like confident. And because when you are confident and you feel dominant, you'll just naturally power pose. Like for example, this was about 2008 when like Usain Bolt like won the Olympics. He was first place, and like the first thing he did was this like big power pose with like hands in the air, fist up. And so power posing is naturally will make you feel more confident and more dominant in yourself.
Now, is that something you practice, for example, before a podcast interview or giving a speech or something like that? Maybe before going on a date, have you personally used the power posing to improve your self confidence?
I was doing that before this podcast actually. So everybody just need like a quick boost of energy. Something that I'm constantly doing. Let's say if I feel like out for like a job interview, social event, I'm meeting some old friends. It's anytime you really need like a quick confidence boost and a quick feeling of dominance in yourself. Once again, it only takes 2 minutes of your time. And so it's very fast, it's very rapid, and you feel much better after doing it.
So my next question was actually going to be, how can we look more dominant how do we look more confident even when we don't feel it? But that's a big one right there. You just covered with the power poses. Give us kind of a verbal explanation of the power poses. If there's, what are your top 3 things that you'd recommend? If I'm listening to this, I don't have time to watch the TED Talk, but I just want 3 tips on something that can make me feel confident and empowered.
So the top 3 power poses, well, one that I do most common is kind of make your hands into a fist. You put them by your hips, by your side. Yeah, right on the hips. Now take your head a little bit higher. About this, there you go. Head to a little bit higher. 2 minutes of your time.
Okay.
Just really just expose that chest out, make yourself feel exactly more confident, more dominant, for example.
Okay.
That's one that I usually always do. That's perfect. I think some people do like full on superhero pose, something that goes like this. For example, that's one that I'm not the biggest fan of. I usually just like stick to about one of them. Of like putting your legs on a chair. For example, one leg on a chair, one leg on the floor. I kind of the same thing. Put the hands on my hips.
The Captain Morgan
Exactly.
pose.
Hands on hips, chin elevated, chest elevated. So those 3 are things that you can use. Me personally, I kind of stick to a fist to the hips, chest out, chin up.
And then we've talked about this a little bit, but what's one silent cue that projects power and presence?
I would say if it was one thing that you could do, it's kind of taking up more space. So we need to discuss that a little bit earlier. Obviously, you want to be like aware of your surroundings. Like if it's like crowded, you want to be like that guy who's taking up more space than he needs to. Let's say it's like an office setting or a meeting. You want to almost do like a territorial display, right? You feel confident because if you feel confident,
Like a what?
Territorial display, taking up more territory, the space around you
Territorial.
and around your body. And so if our bodies do change our minds. So even if we are nervous on the inside, if you can project confidence with your body, your brain will kind of match that on the inside. And so hold your chest a little bit, put your shoulders back, chin a little bit elevated. Pick up the space around you, whether it's like a chair, just like place your hand on a chair, something like that. You will inevitably be more confident in yourself.
And that's there's a difference between a TV interview, podcast interview versus normal daily conversation. One of the things, for example, with a video interview, the videos where you're looking directly at the camera, they say you're supposed to get more credibility, more trust out of that. But we trust. I saw a deal where they were talking about red carpet, where actors or actresses on the red carpet. You look at the new ones that have never been there before, and the pictures show them standing there and they're looking right at the camera, like a wave or some kind of awkward, trying to not look awkward. The ones that have been there a few times, every single time they're looking away, and they will make it a point. As soon as the camera starts snapping, they're looking at somebody else. They're having a conversation. They're going, "Hey, Bob, what's going on?" Doing something to look like the center of attention, where they could care less about the camera. Do you teach on that at all, as far as for posing, as far as the like for pictures or that kind of stuff, to show credibility in a picture or in a social setting where maybe you've got somebody that you're interested in, you're at an event, you're at a party, and you've got the girl that you like is sitting there, but rather than looking at her, following her around with your eyes the whole night, where she's going, "I'm not interested in this weirdo," if you're having other conversations where you look like the center of attention, then it makes the other person more attracted, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Picture-wise, obviously, it kind of depends like what vibe you're going for. If you want to kind of go more like a warm feeling, or whether you're like a leader, like an industry leader, if you kind of want to go for more confident feeling as well. So like, let's say you have like a profile or something like that. If you want to go for that warm connection feeling, kind of do a big smile that reaches the eyes, a tilt of the head. You also maybe like wear the colors that you're wearing. Usually if you go for like warm, you want to wear maybe like a light blue, something like that. Where if you want like a more competent gesture, go back to what we were talking about with taking up space, and not hand gestures, taking up space, popped out chest, the distance between the earlobe and the shoulders, stuff like that. But like with that club you're talking about thing, it is more attractive. Like when you're not solely focused like in a weird way on that one person. And like if you have like other things going on besides that other person, like you have your own group of friends, because like, when people see you having fun, they want to go have fun with you. So if you're not really worried about like impressing that one person, but instead like with your friends, maybe kind of dancing a little bit, people will automatically want to join in on the fun. And so that's one tip if you like at a party or a club.
That's something too you see a lot of times with speakers, where a new speaker will maybe they know somebody in the audience, or they see the camera there, and so they're talking at an event, trying to talk to that person, maybe somebody in the front row, and they're just kind of talking, or they're talking off blatantly. I mean, just non-focused, talking to the audience, versus the speaker that makes it a point to go around and in their mind they're talking to their perfect target client, and solving a problem for them. But they'll look at different points in the audience, just off in a direction. They focus on somebody for 3 seconds. Then they see the next thing, look over in a different spot, look over in a different spot. And by the end of that, when the audience is interviewed, the audience that was listening to the speaker, who made it a point to look out at different areas in the audience for 3 seconds, just have a quick connection, versus the one that just talked to the one spot, everybody in the audience feels like the entire speech was targeted
Exactly.
at them to help them, versus just sitting through somebody talking. Do you have any other tips on that, or what are 3 things that viewers can immediately do to upgrade their body language?
Well, like I said, be wary of the vibe you want to put off. If the way you would approach like a first date is different than the way you would approach like a meeting with the clients and your boss and stuff like that. But just in general, being wary, making sure that your back is straight, your shoulders are rolled back, and your chin area is elevated, because you don't want your chin to you point it the two downwards. It kind of tells those people that you're not confident in what you're saying. And like, let's say if you were kind of sitting and like the distance between your shoulders and the ear or something like this, you kind of look like you know that you're kind of unsure what you're saying. You're unsure. It like makes everyone else feel unsure as well. And so just sit calmly, comfortably, expose your torso a little bit, be open. So distance between your earlobes and the shoulders, straight back and popped out chest and rolled back shoulders.
Now, I'm learning a lot from you during this interview here, and I literally published a book called The Power of Nonverbal Communication. So this is something I think our audience could learn a ton from you. And I'm excited to have people reach out and connect with you and see if they can you plan on publishing a book in the future?
I do, yeah. Not in the near future, but later on, I do want to make it a mission of mine to at least publish one book teaching people the ins and outs of body language, the nonverbals, and the signals that they are sending out to others.
What is one body language truth that you wish everybody knew?
Language truth, I would say, be careful before you accuse someone of being a liar and being deceptive. Because early on in the interview, I kind of made it a point like there's no single behavior that indicates someone is lying to you or being deceptive. And like you can ruin so many like relationships by being too quick to call someone a liar and a deceiver. And so yes, there are things that you can look out for if you want to be aware of if someone is being truthful or not. Like, for example, people who are truthful usually non-verbally emphasize. So if someone's emphasizing non-verbally, that can be like an eyebrow raised. They might lean in with the torso a little bit, even like a slamming of the table. If you can see that they are emphasizing without even talking, those are things that can be a sign of generosity. But yeah, just be careful. There's no behavior that means someone is lying. Do not accuse your family, your friends of being deceptive. So just because you may see that one single behavior.
So don't buy a book on body language and then automatically decide that somebody's lying because they're too cold.
Exactly. Do not.
The crossed arms. Man, this has been an incredible interview. Where can our audience follow you to work with you or learn more?
Yeah, so if you do want to learn more about me, my tips and my advice, you can go to my LinkedIn profile, Shalom Damabel. You can also go on Medium. I do publish some articles on there. Same thing, Shalom Damabel. And through my LinkedIn profile, you can also actually find my Gumroad account. I have, as of now, a free body language guide. Kind of like teaches you like the fundamentals, the basics, like body language 101.
Now, how do they get that? How do they get that body language guide? Is that on Gumroad or will that be
on
on your
Gumroad?
website?
It will be on my website probably soon. Right now it's on Gumroad. You can type it on Google, or you just go through my LinkedIn profile and also find it there.
And tell our audience exactly here how to pronounce and spell your name again if they're Googling it.
Shalom Damabel, ShalomDamabel.
And Shalom, this has been an incredible interview. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for being a guest on Success, Motivation, and Inspiration.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. This episode was designed to help you level up. See you next time.